Good morning, Alex.
Good morning.
Today I have beat teen suicide. I have turned 20 today.
You did it. Let's keep that
Definitely,
going. Let's keep that going post-teen,
I
shall we?
will. Yes, we can. But we beat teen pregnancy and teen suicide on the same day.
It's fantastic. I also beat teen pregnancy today. I'm very happy to hear this. And if it was a struggle, which I imagine it was, I'm very, very glad that you came out on the other end of it, and that's really nice.
Yep, gonna pick up. My friend promised me a cake from Dairy Queen when I turn 20. So I have a cake from Dairy Queen to take to the costume shop today. That's I beat teen suicide instead of happy birthday.
But there you go. I think whatever way you got to deal with it, you got to deal with it. As long as you have a smile on your face at this moment, I'm very happy to hear that. Hell yeah.
So
Is it your birthday today?
yes,
Happy birthday.
thanks, Alex.
My pleasure. It's always a fun one. It's always a good time to remember there's and I'm not a very spiritual or religious person. I'm sure you know this, but I do believe in the idea that everyone is here for something. So there's you know what I mean? Like I don't think that I think there's no accident to that. I don't believe in necessarily anything beyond that, but I think that I've seen and I've experienced versions of that in my life. I've been like, oh, that's why I might be here. Maybe, right? And to keep searching for that, I think is interesting. And I think that makes life interesting and exciting. So it's not worth leaving. It's worth, living for.
I mean, right? Like when I can't figure like a reason, I'm gonna do something that forces me to have to stay alive to an extended period of time.
Good. I
So
think
like
making
they're
plans,
doing
putting things in your
stupid.
calendar that you want to look forward to.
Yeah, like some things in April that you may or may not be a part of.
Still don't have the official answer, but it is looking positive.
But did that happen? Yes. It's my celebration for my birthday and 2 years of COVID
It's rough.
and the fact that Percy Jackson is gonna go on. And I just finished my first costume design. So
Heck yeah. Congrats. Are you satisfied with what you did?
I'm so happy. We had a couple of stumbles along the way. Like we got to the night of first dress and we're like,
Yeah.
where's the leather coat? Or like we were days before final dress. Like the coat's not here. And then it magically arrives on
I
at the 12th hour.
I always say, I go, when you do one dress rehearsal, it goes terribly, and then you have an audience the next day, and everyone's like, how are we going to do it? And every time you go, because we have to, it's going to happen. Like it does. That's the craziest thing. We haven't even done this scene in 4 weeks. We're going to have to do it. And then we just do it. And you go, oh, right. It just happens.
But like, I feel like your rehearsals are more intense than my colleges will ever be.
Maybe. Because I think I've done the college rehearsal thing. And it all looks similar. Like I think that there's a similarity more than there is a disparity, for what it all feels like. You rehearse longer, basically. I think the idea is that you have a little more confidence of what you're doing because you're able to spend a little more time doing it.
Yeah, and I would say like also like you go in the mornings, whereas we go at
Right.
5 o'clock to midnight.
Yes, that is correct. That is the difference there for me, at least, because some people are night owls, and I'm like I'm more of a morning person than I am a night owl. I'm sort of both, but I'm bridging into more of the morning person as I get older. I do like having 10 a.m.s. 10 a.m. rehearsal for me feels like rehearsal. If I'm rehearsing at 5, the day's over. I'm totally already done.
Okay, that I can get behind because I'm like anything before 8, I'm like, not really, my dude. Anything after 8, I'm like, okay.
I love it. That's good to set. It's good to set boundaries like that. And I think you're right. It's very hard to be creative before a certain hour. That is for sure.
Yes, or be in college in general. Sincerely, I had.
That's why we have this. A coffee the size of your head.
Yes. So, because we were talking about college.
Yes.
Like, what led you to go from California to NYU to leaving NYU to being an actor on Broadway? Like, how does that system work?
I can tell you exactly. It's the same thing that I've experienced outside of this question too. Anything that's ever happened, I think, mostly from that I made decisions about, was the whole career of theater is a risk, right? Like the whole idea of creativity as a career is a risk, because it's not, there's no path to that. So I knew that, like, I knew that, and I know that I knew that I wasn't an idiot going into this. I knew that there was, like, the odds would be against you no matter how talented you are. And also, talent is subjective. So, like, for every person that likes me, there's other people that don't, and you have to reckon with that.
Well, that's a shame for them. So
That's right. That's right. That's their loss. But it never really affected me all that much, to be honest. And so I kind of lucked out there. But my thing has always been, so I was in, go to high school, I was doing theater. It all felt right. Doing theater felt good. So I kept doing that. So for me, I started thinking about life as the necessary next steps. This is what I talk about a lot, is like, well, this feels like the next necessary step in the next thing. So, like, it all felt logical to me. Okay, this is going well in my hometown. I think I start, you have to really look at yourself, because if you're the lead in every play in your hometown, it's either one of two things. You have a really small hometown, which, again, because there are people that come to try to do theater and they're like, I was the king of, Rhode Island. And it's like, well, there's lots of us out there. Right. But there was, so you didn't have a lot of competition. I did. I grew up around incredibly talented people that I was constantly trying to work hard to get roles and get on stage with people. And so everything felt like the next logical next step. So the same thing with NYU. I knew that NYU could serve me in two ways. One, it was a great theater school that I had read about. Like, a lot of friends that were older than me had gone there, and I had some sort of great things to say about it. I didn't do enough research because of the second thing. I really wanted to be in New York. I had visited New York a gazillion times before that because my grandparents lived in Jersey. So I was exposed to New York at an early age and loved every minute, loved every inch of this place. And
I love me a dirty sewer city too. Why? I don't.
Well, it all feels like, when I walk in around New York, I just took a long walk yesterday, and I walked around Midtown, I walked around Times Square, I walked in Central Park. It all feels, it does two things at once. One, it always feels like you're in the middle of a movie set. Everything is strange looking. Like, everything looks like purposeful and interesting. But secondly, it's so grounded. New York is so grounded and crazy. And if you don't believe me, just get in anyone's way, and you're just reminded that it doesn't matter what you do, who you are, what status you have, how many Broadway shows you've done, how many, whatever. If you're in someone's way in New York, you mind if I swear at least once?
You can swear all you want. That's I'm a technician. That's all I do.
I know. I just always like to ask, and I forget sometimes. Is literally, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be Daniel Radcliffe has this same story, because I've heard this story from him, that they will just go, get the fuck out of my way.
I mean, that kind of, okay. So New York is the more R-rated version of Vegas, because if you're in Vegas and you're walking around a hotel and you're in the tourist way, even if you're a local, they will run you over.
Right. So I always tend to think, living here this long, I've lived here for 15 years, and I went from thinking the same thing everyone else thought, which is, wow, New Yorkers are nasty and rude and mean, to being a New Yorker and going, oh, they're not mean and nasty. They're just in a hurry and you're in their way. Like, New Yorkers, there's a rhythm to New York. There's a real rhythm to this city. And if you don't get on board with it, it will knock you down.
I mean, when I was last time there before, COVID struck and hit us all, we were like, everyone's a mess on the 6th train. Everyone.
Right.
But this one guy was like, where are you trying to go? Because I guarantee you this is not going to take you where you're going. He's like, we're trying to go to the Bronx. He's like, this is not going to take you to the Bronx.
Nice. Yeah.
So, like, the fact that someone who was in a hurry was like, there is tourists that have no idea where the hell they are.
Yeah. Nothing makes me happier, actually, when I'm able to give someone directions, because I used to be so terrible at I just knew where I was going. I don't need to know I don't need to know north, south, who gives a shit. And I didn't care about anybody enough to whatever. But now, like, I relish when somebody goes, hey, where's, Riverside, and where's Riverside Park? I'm able to go, oh, actually, and I can help and feel like really purport this idea that like, yes, we're in a hurry, but we have time. If you're polite, we can always stop and be nice to strangers. And
I mean, I'm so excited to go back to New York. I'm so ready for it.
it's in a good
So,
spot right now. I mean, it's like in a really kind, post-pandemic kind of stuff. Post-pandemic, we're still in it, but like post the big wave of this thing, hopefully the only wave of this thing, people have, I think, mainly worldwide, excluding a few states here and there, have come to a place of we need to be kind to each other because we've all gone through a trauma. Like this is the first time I think in a lot of people's generations where it is a worldwide shared trauma event that we're not able to go on Twitter and go, oh, did you hear that horrible thing that happened in Africa? That happened here now. And so we don't get a chance to remove ourselves.
20
Say it
years
again.
ago.
Say
It
it
was
again.
like 20 years ago, the last one, which was 9/11.
Right. But again, that didn't happen to
Twitter.
everybody. It didn't happen to everybody. That happened to New York City, to hundreds of people, but not everybody. So everyone heard about it, but that's been going on for a long time. Big events like that, everyone hears about a bombing and a shooting and things like that. You hear about it, but really it affects, unless you're the biggest empath in the world and everything affects you empathetically, which I don't think you can be, is it just doesn't affect you as much as it did the people that it happened to. The thing about COVID is it literally affected everyone around you, including yourself. And so I think it's rare. It's rare when something like that. That is like why it's such a big deal. That's why it's so felt. That's why everybody is feeling this sense of like low energy.
Most people, we will not give sympathy to those who are being stupid right now.
Yeah, I don't even consider them when I'm saying this. So it's like, if you're going to be dumb about it, then I don't have much sympathy or empathy for you at all. But, I have zero. I play by the rules, especially when it comes to making people feel good and healthy. The idea that I would in any way do the opposite of that feels crazy.
I know a lot of Broadway actors have lost some support, like Laura something. What's her face?
Laura Osnes. Well, the two big stories were Laura Osnes, who was sort of outed for not being vaccinated, which the only listen, if you don't want to get vaccinated, I have my thoughts about it, but I can't convince you. You know what I mean? I'm not wasting my energy to try and convince somebody, but that's not what I took a problem with. My problem with is that
she lied to her castmates.
Yeah. And again, like again, I don't know the story from I only know the story from what I read. So I don't know how many sides of that story there are. All that I needed to know was that the people around her had children, the people around, and you just need to be, again, I know of people that are not, that don't believe in the vaccine, but wear a mask, and they keep others around them at least safe. They can live there and do that thing. Whatever. I don't have time to explain why that's the craziest thing in the world, why you'd find some kind of compromise to be like, I'm not going to get vaccinated, but I'll be safe. I'm like, get vaccinated. But all that kind of, I'm less about like when someone doesn't follow the rules, okay, fine, whatever. But like, it's the idea that like, don't put others in danger. Like, I think I don't have a lot of time, or I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that actively do the wrong thing. That's to me. And again, I've met Laura, and she's lovely and sweet and all that kind of stuff. But that's just not somebody. And it could be anybody, by the way. It has nothing to do with that we're on Broadway together and with things like that. I just don't have the real time to explain to someone like that, because I don't think it's worth it. And I have my own life to live, and I'm being safe, and I want to purport that. So it's a fascinating thing when people around you that you know or have known of, you're like, weird, I didn't know that about you. And that's nice to know now, because I don't want to get sick. I have a wife that has 2 autoimmune diseases. So it's me not wanting to be around someone like that has nothing to do with being personal. It's really just a survival thing.
That's valid. It's totally valid. So
Yep.
That leads into another question. Do you
Sure.
think the Broadway League is doing enough to protect actors, technicians, and like everyone else involved in the show?
I think it's too early to tell, honestly. I think that they're trying. I think that the people, the powers that be, right? Whoever you want to say, like the Broadway League, the people that are the people fighting for the unions, and the people fighting or working with the unions, all that kind of stuff. I think it is still brand new. I mean, 2 years to come up with a grand plan for the rest of the years that we have left is not a lot. So and again, I'm putting myself in the position of them being like, I don't know what the fuck I would do. So I think that they've done a very good job considering what's going on. I don't know when they started thinking about these things. Maybe it should have been a little earlier, but
well, to be fair, they were like, "We'll open in 2 weeks."
well, yeah, I mean, but we all thought that was going to be a thing. We all thought it was going to be very optimistic, and we're also every other day we got new information, and still to this day, every other couple of days we get new info about this and a booster that. So I think that they're trying to pivot as much as possible. But the cool news is, out of the Broadway shows that have opened and audiences that have poured in, some of which I've been a part of, the audiences, I felt safe. Number one. Number two, I've seen zero pushback from people that want to go see theater. They just go and they have their vaccination stuff and they're allowed in, and no one is taken off their mat. People want to be there. It would be a very expensive protest if somebody wanted to come and do that. You know what I mean?
I mean, people have done it though.
They have, and they will, but they're outnumbered in this case. The majority I've seen and I've experienced is the majority of those people want this all to work and are following those rules. And out of all the Broadway shows that have opened, none of them had to close because of COVID, except for the fact that like maybe there's a show called Chicken and Biscuits that's about to close, and because they lost so much money and didn't have advanced sale that would, there's so much more that goes into it than just COVID. But because they lost those audiences, they just didn't know how they were going to pick up those pieces. And unfortunately, that's just business. That's not, that's terrible. Because one of my least favorite things to even consider is that theater is a business,
Because it's such a passion art.
I just love it. My thing is when I talk to I'm represented by an agent and managers and things like that. And what makes me happy about that is let me do the show part of show business and you do the business part. Please don't let me be involved because I don't want to think of what I do as this commercial thing that, that I could get more money out of somebody or play a game and, like play the weird political game of doing this. I like doing theater. So let me do theater and you guys do the stuff that continues to let me do it. I don't need to know. I don't want to, it's the same thing I feel about like accounting. Like I don't know how to be an accountant, which is why nothing makes me happier than to pay someone who does, because I don't want to learn.
Me in a
right.
nutshell.
Yeah, but I think it's so many people like I'm gonna save $100 and do QuickBooks and I'm gonna do my own taxes. I'm like, good luck, man. I have no interest.
I would get arrested because I would mess up.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I don't have the brain. What I have brain space for is the things that I love or want to get better at loving. But I find no joy in two things mainly. One, dancing. Number two, taxes.
But you Broadway actor and you do dance.
I do. It's part of my job, but I don't find any joy dancing. So anything you see me doing in Beetlejuice, it's like the dancing, anything I've done in any show, the dancing for me is almost like a price of admission to do the rest of it. Like if yes, okay, I have to dance a little bit in Beetlejuice, but for the most part, I don't have to dance, right? So what I get to do,
other Beetlejuices dance for you.
That's right. And I dance in Beautiful Sound, and that's fine. That's, again, every night, because the show is exhausting. Like, I don't know if I'm being honest, being a real honest human being. I don't know if there was ever a real time where I was majorly excited to do Beautiful Sound. But it's mainly because it's exhausting. And right after Beautiful Sound, I have to do the rest of the act. And it's like, it's just, and I lead the show. Like, I shoulder the show. So I don't want to sit there like, and because I don't know how to do it. I'm not incredibly athletic. I mean, I'm athletic, but in the way that it's not like I don't have like a real big stamina for that kind of stuff. So I have a long-term stamina, 2.5 hour stamina. I don't have like that little sprint stamina.
And you also have to think that you're wearing the black and white suit, and then you go into the wedding suit because you have to have the game show suit over the wedding suit.
I wish you could see that backstage. Putting that on, it's a whole thing.
I mean, I already see how they do Lydia's, and I'm like, damn.
I'm just trying to
shit together.
just to give you a sense of how crazy that is. during so where do we go? So was there I'm trying to think when I leave the stage, the next scene after the sort of when I'm in the red sort of look, the red suit, the mad angry Beetlejuice look. The next thing is that next scene, but there's like the netherworld, there's then there's Miss Argentina, and then there's Home, the song Home, and then I come on. So we have a big long time. Almost the entire time during that is me getting new wig, new makeup, and most of the time is putting on that precarious costume because it has to come on in one piece.
Wow. Oh yeah.
So
it's
all buttoned. So it was the way it was designed by trial and error in some way, because we had many different versions of it. There was one with magnets in DC where they would put a thing over me and I would rip it down, but it was never successful in the way we wanted it to be. And it was always looked a little cheap. So they found a way to just do it on stage and just do it right in the full view of the audience, just to explode it apart, which is much more satisfying. And also just to not pull it, like not
destroy
feel like we're doing a magic trick. It's just sort of a costume change. And so, yeah, that suit is, I mean, it for many performances, those sleeves on that suit would start fraying apart as the scene was happening until we figured that out. There was always a way. I always have to keep, finding way, because it's really precarious. And I'm underdressed.
Two wigs. And then you have the two wigs. So like, I don't blame you for being like, I am hot as hell. I am tired as hell.
Well, yeah. And also it's like,
and I'm not saying like you have only two wigs, because you have like what, five
or six, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I mean, just for the wedding scene, just for leading up to creepy old guy.
Well, yeah. Well, but with creepy old guy, that goes along with those. Everything I'm doing in those three scenes that I'm off stage for is like they're putting on the flat wig, the one that looks a little more coiffed, and then they put another wig on top of that with light pins, so like it can just so all it takes is it coming forward, and I took it off. It's
the Matilda Hal
yes
trick.
exactly the same thing. And so all I had to do, really the biggest trick of that whole scene, was not walking around like this and trying to not feel like if I moved too fast, it would come out. So I had to get comfortable in the same way I had to get comfortable wearing wigs. Because when you wear a wig, it always right in the beginning, it sort of feels like it's going to fall off all the time.
Yes.
But it doesn't. And so I got really comfortable, with just having a wig on. Right in the beginning though, I was like, I always asked for more pins because I always thought it was going to come off. It never did. But so I just had to get really comfortable pretending like there weren't two wigs on my head and a costume underdressed. That's the real trick. The getting into the costume was I just had to sit there and someone else put me in the costume, but having to walk down on stage and be like, not feel like I was doing that kind of theme park walking. That was the trick. That took a while. It did.
Look, as a technician, I don't like overdressing you guys, but sometimes we got no choice.
Well, and again, sometimes it's effective, and especially with our show, like, there were people that were like, we could totally tell there was a costumer there. You looked enormous. And I was like, well, that's okay because it's Beetlejuice, so who cares? Like, we could get away with it dramaturgically because we're an absurd show.
Yes. Like, no one says anything when Sophia came out when she has like her black dress underneath her wedding dress. No one said a word.
Right. Exactly. That dress is heavy, by the way. That Sophia dress, that wedding dress is like, it's like almost like 10 pounds. It's huge.
But it's beautiful. That's all that matters.
Gorgeous, beautiful, but it's really genuinely, I held it. It's like literally like 8 to 10 pounds.
And it's all on her legs and it's all on her shoulders.
Yep.
So what's the sketchiest thing you saw at NYU? Because I think I can out-sketch you with things at colleges.
Trying to think. Let's see. The sketchiest thing I saw. You mean, I'm just trying, define sketchy.
Okay, my term of sketchy is at my school, if you climb up to the cove where the lights are, right? You have 3 options of where you could fall if there was an accident.
Oh.
Fall back down the ladder chute. Fall into this concrete pit because it's only it's like a little triangle platform that you land on.
Okay.
Or you fall into the cove if you're very, very lucky.
What's the cove?
It's where we hang all the lights. So we go up there, we pull our lights up via rope.
Oh, got it. Okay. I didn't know it had a name. Well, first of all of those options sound terrible.
I know. That's why I don't go up there. I go to the basement.
Let me think. At NYU, let's see. I think, I mean, I didn't stay long enough really to like have a ton of like what sketched me out about the place was honestly wasn't anything that felt necessarily dangerous. To me, it was like I would arrive every day and feel I felt really cheated out of an experience because they'd taken way too many students for the class, because most musical theater classes are like 15 and that's it. And they cut, I mean, by year 2, you have 8 people left. I mean, it's like really, that's like the whole idea of a theater program, is it really weeds out quickly the people that want to do it versus the people that were like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I'm doing theater. And I was good at it once, so why wouldn't I be great at it here? But they took like 80 kids in my freshman class, 80, which is unheard of. And it was like what felt like a very money kind of situation. Like they just took as many people that would pay. And what ended up happening was I'd get there every day, a person who really wants to do this with a handful of others. There's like 10 or 15 of us that were like, you could tell we're in this for the right reasons and really wanted to pursue this and worked really hard. We would all 15 of us get really short shrifted, because what happens when you get 65 other people that are not doing their work is they get a lot of work done on them because we've done our work. But rather than being celebrated and worked with because we've done our work, they were like, great, you're good. Let's work with the people that need help. And I was like, but these people don't want help. Like you couldn't, without sounding narcissistic or egotistical, it was very hard to talk to these people and go, we deserve more of your time because we've earned it. And they just couldn't see that. And it's one of the big reasons I left, because I was like, I'm not paying $50,000+ a year to get ignored.
I feel that because like I'm a COVID student, obviously.
Yep.
Like you think I feel cheated because Zoom is not the same as being there in person.
100%. It's not even in the same realm.
Yeah, if I wanted to go to online school, I could be in Vegas with, home, not in the middle of Bloomington Normal.
Yeah. It's not even close. I mean, I've been teaching on Zoom for 2 years, and zero part of me wants to continue this. It's like unless it's like across the country and I can't get there. But if they were to fly me out, I'd much rather do that, and especially for what we do, it's like a very live medium. It's very difficult to do scene work and, any sort of real monologue work because you have no clue what people's internets are. It's just terrible. So I was really looking forward to going back to NYU. What I was looking forward to was being in an institution where everybody there was there because for the same exact reasons I was. And what was sketchy for me was that not only were they not, but they were like, I was like, have you ever done theater? Like, and I'm talking about the teachers. Because a lot of us, and I've said this, I've been on the record saying this, in the time I was there, and since then it had sort of been proven actually, some of these teachers were not qualified to teach people like us. They were just not. So we were getting like really, really fleeced for like money, and it just felt wrong. And so I left. I wanted to leave, but I wanted a reason to leave. So I auditioned for a bunch of stuff, and thankfully, quickly, it went okay.
Okay, so how the pipeline went is NYU is sucking ass. So I'm going to go audition for a bunch of shows and hope one of them sticks so I can leave NYU. And that's how you got started on Broadway. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not how I started on Broadway, but my mom always said, and just never left me, which is like, you should never leave a job unless you have another one unless you are going to another one. Which I get. It's just, it doesn't always translate when we do the arts because you don't know. But I was able to sort of like rework that to, okay, let's leave school. Let's think about leaving school this next year. Let's think about what it means to drop out because I wasn't happy. I wasn't learning anything. And all I was really doing was like living in New York, which ruled, but also like I had great friends that I made in those 2 years. So, okay, I'll still have those if I'm not in school. But then I was like, let's just try. Let's see if I can have a reason to leave. And so it worked. If I didn't, though, I think I would have spent maybe another year there, but I don't think I would have graduated.
So funny thing. So like a lot of times when I've talked to you, you're like, can't be everyone's cup of tea. Don't try to be everyone's cup of tea. I think you'd be a little bit somewhere between happy and disappointed. I ended up quitting my job at Spirit before the end of the season.
Yeah.
because frankly, my show came first. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be written up because my show that I've been working on all semester is more important than a stupid temp job.
Fucking A.
And so not only did I do that, it was also I was being harassed by our manager and I was getting sexually harassed at this job. And I was like, you know what? This
Oy.
ain't worth $11 an hour. Fuck this shit.
Yeah. Seriously. Don't, that's not worth it. Just making sure we're here together for an hour, right?
Yeah, because I
Right. I just wanted to make double sure.
booked this one and then the one after it.
Sure. I think, and then what we'll do is we'll like when it comes time to do the other one, we'll just come back to a different link.
Okay.
Because otherwise this one will shut off and it won't be able to do it. But I just wanted to make double sure that I thought I read that right yesterday that we were here for an hour.
Sorry,
Cool.
Alex.
Love it. No, I love to. I think you're such a great conversationalist. I'm more than happy to chat. It's great. Spirit wasn't doing it for you.
No, it was not. I came in, I bought my last thing because I got a 30% off discount with my friend and she wanted something.
What'd you buy?
She wanted a katana for one of her cosplays.
It's such a casual way of saying that. It just made me laugh. The idea she wanted a katana, so I bought her a 30% off katana.
But I walk up and my manager is ringing me up because only the managers can ring you up with a discount.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "Oh, I'll see you in like an hour." And I went about that. And I'm wearing like, imagine like a Lydia cosplay here, like hat, red sunglasses, the dress. And I just looked at her and I was like, about that. I quit.
What did your manager, was this a person you didn't like?
Yes, I hated her guts.
There you go.
And she's like, "Well, I can't use your 30% off discount then." And I'm like, "Well, you already rang me up, bitch, so you might as well let me use my card."
I guess once you've quit, all niceties are out the window. So there, I guess that's okay. Well, that's good. I mean, I think I'm not disappointed by that at all. Nor should you ever think whether or not what your decisions do would disappoint me or make me happy. I hope that that's for yourself.
No, but I'm like, with Alex's advice of not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Fuck this job.
Yeah, I mean, it's
job.
well, and also like think about it in the long run. Like, you know, this, if you were never asking, if a job is coming up for you and you need recommendations, you're not reaching out to this person anyway. So who cares?
And I mean, I got a better job at a box office where I'm not doing physical labor.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, you know, in my opinion, like when you work at something like a Spirit, and I did the same thing I worked at a bunch of restaurants and bars here, and I twice have quit mid shift because I was just in a moment was like, this doesn't matter enough to me right now to be treated the way I'm being treated. And I don't want to work here. So like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Because I'm told when you get a job, you have to do it. I was like, I'm being mistreated. So I told I had like tons of tables. I remember this vividly because I worked there for like almost a year and a half. It was a bar here called Shades of Green. And they'd gotten a new manager and she was awful to me. She was, and we had all these things with regular customers. We had a rapport. It's a bar, you know, when people order enough drinks, you give them one for free. It's just all right. Things like that would have just got established years before I even was there. And I was abiding by those rules. And she came in and she says, no free drinks. And I was like, well, these people have spent, I mean, they've just bought 12 drinks. I'm giving, and they go, that'll come out of your paycheck. And I was like, no. And so I went over to the table and I said, hey guys, this manager is awful. And I don't know her very much. And I'm sorry, I won't be able to give you a free drink. But the good news is I'm going to be quitting. So if you guys want to go somewhere else and drink, I'm happy to hang out with you guys. And then they picked up and I left they came with me because we had a great time together. And this manager stopped me in the middle of the floor and she goes, you have more tables. And I said, actually, you have more tables because I quit. And I left and I gave her my apron and I left. I didn't even want my last paycheck. I was like, I got my tips. I'm out. Not worth it.
I mean, I'm a Gen Zer, so I'm like, if it's a chain, it's free reign. If it's a small business, you gotta buy.
I love it.
I went in with a backpack. I left with stuff in the backpack.
Did you know that Sephora, the makeup store, they budget that into their business?
Every store does that, Alex.
I didn't know. I mean, I'm sure it makes perfect sense, but I had heard that from an actual former employee that they were like, someone said, like, after a comedy show, because they mentioned Sephora, they said, "Hey, I work at Sephora. It's so funny you say that you steal from," because like we actually, it never really, that's what we planned for. I was like, that's fascinating.
But yeah,
It's not a reason to steal, but it is fascinating.
well, fuck my manager. She's got to deal with it.
Right.
She has to do the paperwork. I don't.
That's true. And again, if you're not looking for them later in your life, it's not a, it's not a reason to be shitty to everybody, but it's this case by case thing when you go, look, I'm never going to need you in the future, and you're not going to be important to my future jobs. So goodbye.
I took you for the 30% off discount and some fun, and you have been neither.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Why am I here? That was the big question. What am I even doing here? I could be somewhere else.
Like, I went to my work one day, right? And my full Beetlejuice cosplay. And I think it looks like yours. It's painted and hand painted, all of that.
Where is it?
Looks very decent.
Where is it?
You know what? I'll show you. Let me pull up my Instagram.
Nice.
There's a table right here, and here's my dresser. Here's my table.
Yeah, I'll take a picture. I don't need to see the real thing.
Yeah, because it's hung up. It's
nice.
It was on the floor for like a week. It's college, and
I love a good BJ cosplay. Oh my God, that's incredible.
Thank you. But yeah, some guy was like, "How much do you get paid here?" I'm like, $11. Like, you're wearing that, and you only get paid $11.
Right. Well, soon enough, I always believe that the right people that work like crazily hard at the thing they're obsessed with, they do most of it for free for a good chunk of their life. And then when it is time, you get paid in reparations for it later. You get paid sort of in like, it gets backlogged in a way where it's the same thing as like professional baseball, right? It's like the reason why professional athletes get paid so much money is not because they're famous or whatever. It's because they're at the top of their game, and at the top of their game, like a good ballerina or a good whatever, the shelf life there is not long. So if they're doing something at the top of their game and they know it is finite, they get paid a lot because it's like they haven't done it before and they're not going to be able to do it later. So like people have understood that, and I think there's a nice appreciation for. It's not forever. It doesn't last.
Like even in the tech world, it's not, because like, yeah, you can learn the new systems and stuff, but like once you learn one like lighting system, you're like, fuck learning another lighting system.
Right.
College do that to you, man.
Oh yeah, college will do all sorts of things to you. If you're not careful, college will lead you in a very, very, very interesting and dangerous direction of resenting the thing that you want to do.
Yes, and that's why I'm like, we're not going to do that right now because we have one show at a time. I don't get paid here. We're not doing 2 shows at a time.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good to setting boundaries is good. And just my big theory with working on things, whether it's in college or in a professional production or whatever, is how I always try to think, how can I be helpful here, right? And again, setting boundaries is great because that means you can synthesize and distill down how you can be helpful. Because okay, I certainly can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't want to do this. But here's the 3 things I can do to make today go great. Right? Here's how I can make rehearsal go really smooth today. And I think that goes across the board with every department. Because if there's someone who's just like, I'm not moving until they do, then you're like, well, then you're not being helpful.
I mean, I have 2 things that get me through the day. One, my costume shop hates because it's a really bad joke. And the joke is, well, if this whole thing doesn't work out, this whole theater thing doesn't work out for me, I'm just going to go to dental school. Fuck y'all.
Is that something you're interested in?
You see the problem with that one, Alex. I'm going to give you a second to think about why that might be a problem and give you this wall to look at.
Well, but if your life is based around the dentist from Little Shop, it's not.
It's a joke for a reason.
Right.
It's just I'm too sadistic.
Got it. I understand.
So this whole theater thing better work out.
I hope it does. I hope it does for many other people's mouths' sake. I certainly will never be a customer, just to be honest. If you are, I'll appreciate that you've started a new practice, but I'll never come.
Yeah, I'll just hang all my posters from my high school's production. Like Pain is okay, Scream, Cry, I don't care.
Yeah, great.
my beautiful, beautiful posters I made.
Where do you fit in your friend group?
I finally found friends in college. It's been 3 years, and I finally found people I can hang out with
Yeah, that's
because I
good.
feel like the outcast.
Yeah, I think a lot of creative people do.
But it's sad when you're in the theater department and you're the outcast of the theater department.
Yeah, I mean, yes, maybe. I think that, like, sometimes we are, and I'm speaking about myself too, like we put ourselves at the center of our own movie a lot of the time. So sometimes in moments where you may feel like the outcast, it is sometimes, I'm not saying it is your doing or it's anything fake, because I believe you. But sometimes we do get really invested in how we are, where am I? Like, right? Like, how do I fit? How do I, and if I don't fit exactly the way I want to do it, I'm like, oh, no one likes me.
Alex, why did you just like read my entire like 20 years of life in like 2 seconds?
Because I'm an artist with anxiety and bipolar. So like I have like, I go through high highs and low lows, and I take, it takes an effect on me. So I know exactly how people feel. By the way, we're not the only two to just surprise.
Me at my doctor. I need better medicine than this. This is the cousin of Benadryl, and all this does is make me sleepy. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I can't have anxiety if I'm asleep, but
I disagree with that, but sure. I think it all builds up for sure. If you don't take care of it, it'll build up in some way. It has to.
so that leads me to another question for you. Do
Okay.
you experience imposter syndrome?
All the time.
That makes me feel so much better because like I was always the kid that was like getting superiors and getting all these college acceptances, and now I'm like, I'm getting my first show design.
Well, so you just told me the reason why you have it. I mean, imposter syndrome typically happens to people who are succeeding in ways that, in little ways, big ways, because it's weird to succeed. It's comfortable to fail because you're part of a huge majority of people. You go out for an audition, there's thousands of people, and if you don't get it, you go, well, so did everybody else didn't get it. If you get the part, it's isolating.
So you just sit there in your dressing room going, how the fuck?
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully you can turn it. I mean, the thing for me is like I go through one of two things, and they both exist simultaneously, and one of them has gotten less, thankfully, because I've really worked on it and talked to like a therapist about it because it's real. The good one is I got the role, I earned the role too. I worked really hard, and they gave me the role. They didn't have to. It also was a little bit of luck and a little bit of their taste and whatever, but it all worked out. So my thing, every day of rehearsal, every day of press, every day of doing the show, there's part of me that goes, I want to keep reminding these people that they've made the right decision. Not in a desperate way, not in a way of like, I'll do anything, but just to be good, do the thing they hired. But there is also that other part of me that I imagine you get too, which is like, I'm so replaceable. Like, how have they not figured this out yet?
Yeah, because like I went from being an assistant costume, and I'll admit I didn't have all my shit together when I was an assistant because like I didn't know what to do. No one told me
Sure.
what to do. Like, how do you become an assistant designer when everyone else is designing and you're just kind of like pulling things?
Absolutely. Yeah, right. You have to figure it out.
But like when I became the designer, I was like, holy shit! Like I'm driving the bus now,
Mm-hmm.
and people like it.
And people are also looking to you for things, which is new and interesting.
Yeah, and like no one is like, man, brain.
Well, but my thing is if you are in any position of leadership, which is, by the way, a huge any leadership, if you have one person is under you, it's weird because you feel in some capacity that you're not allowed to say things like, I don't know. And so it is a huge part of my imposter syndrome. If someone comes to me with a problem, which, by the way, most of the problems people come to me with, if I'm the lead of a show, have nothing to do with me. They just want to come and check with me. And I, as that person with anxiety and want to please people, go, let me see if I can help. When in reality, what I should be saying is, I don't have nothing to say. I don't know. Sorry that you're feeling this way, but if I take everything on, it starts to become negative and hard, and then you start to go like, am I the guy for this? I can't answer these people's questions. When you really look at the questions, you go, these aren't even for me.
Yeah, because it also came like to the point where like, yeah, I like apparently I'm supposed to be doing mainly paperwork. So I learned that after getting yelled at about it. And now like we got to Dog, which was the show I just costumed. And it was like, I got all my paperwork done. I got all my renderings done on time. I didn't make every meeting I was supposed to because it was summer, but like all my paperwork, everything got done in the time it needed to be done.
Right.
And I'm like, either I pulled my head out of my ass or I learned that I need to work harder because I'm so easily replaceable.
It's probably both. I mean, it's probably like you do. I mean, I think people, hopefully you're able to pay attention to what's going on and you rectify things that don't go well the first time. Okay, I'll fix it the next time. The beauty of theater is you get to do that. You know, if you were in politics, you make one mistake and it's over. I mean, like that's really one of my favorite things about what we do is that it is subjective. So there aren't really like things that get, you know, a lot of things. There are plenty of examples of the other side, but for the sake of this argument, there's not a lot of right or wrong, right? Like there's subjective nature to a lot of things, design wise, acting wise, whatever. Like, you know, if a light's broken, it has to be fixed. But like the color of that light is decided by the people around it. It's not like they go red and the audience goes, no. It's just you watch a show. So it's like, you know, if you make a mistake or any kind of stuff throughout your career, I understand why people feel imposter syndrome, because I will have one off day at rehearsal and I will carry that into the next day with me.
Like
I will
if
go,
rehearsal goes wrong, I'm like, oh shit, like I should get out ahead now while I'm ahead.
but it's because we're all office buildings. I'm a walking around office building. So are you. You're an entire company in a person. Like that's the difference between working for like a restaurant and being an actor or a designer is like you are your brand. So that if someone doesn't like something you did, you can easily go, God, that's a slight towards me, but it's not.
I mean, like you as Alex Brightman can be
Mhm.
like, you just have to sell what's in you and you don't have to like look a certain way. I, as a
That's true.
designer, have to look a certain way or else no one thinks I know how to design.
Do you
So
mean you have to look a certain way?
I have to have a certain style. So
Interesting.
I can't pull this t-shirt and jeans shit.
Is that, I mean, for me, that sounds like an opinion.
More people trust me with what I do if they see me on the street and go, that's an interesting outfit.
I see. So it sort of reflects your style. I understand.
I mean, let's see if I can get it in camera. Sandworm skirt. Who else is going to wear this?
I guess nobody. I don't know. Or anyone else that could afford it.
It was on sale, so.
Got it. So lots of people. No, but I know what you mean. I just think that there is, you know, if your work is good, I don't know if it necessarily always matters and always matters with the, you know, I have to look a certain way, you know, I think it can really actually work on you in a way that's not great.
Of course, we have days where I'm like, I'm just going to the basement. I'm dressing up for the basement.
Yeah, but you're working. I mean, like, I think that if you're working, put on your work clothes. Like, you know, if you're at an opening night, don't wear your work clothes. That's all. Yes. I don't think it needs to be an everyday thing. And that's coming from somebody who feels as though they need to perform all the time. So that's something I'm working through as an actor. It's like when you are done with your job, you don't want to go home and talk to your family the same way you talk to fans. And that's difficult for me to turn off because I feel like I want everyone to like me. And the way I get people to like me most of the time in most of my life, literally, is through performing and through validation of that performance. So that's something I've been working on for years with therapy, which is like, you need to find a way to be loved for the thing that you just are and not the thing that you do. Because that has been the biggest revelation for me is, am I lovable if I'm not performing? Right?
You seem like a decent person. So yeah.
And again, it's like, it's nice to hear. And I think that even if I had to be honest with myself, the answer is yes. But I don't really know, because I don't know. It's been so long, and I started this career, really bona fide career, when I was 19. I don't know.
Oh, damn. So you just.
I was a kid.
Starting time, basically.
Well, the 19 to 23 are like the most incredibly formative years of your life, typically. And I spent those on Broadway. And that's great, but that's like, it works on you in different ways. You normalize some pretty abnormal shit.
Like what?
Every single night, I will go outside of a stage door and be adored by hundreds of people. That's not normal.
Oh,
It's not.
partially part of the problem, may or
No,
may
but
not
it's not. It's not. This is not what I'm talking about. Like right now, this is not what I mean is like it's just what we do as for a living, and I mean everybody, designers, is not your average clock in, clock out job. It's just this thing that we always are thinking about, especially the creative people that are in the building, that it very difficult to turn off. Probably would have been easier for me if I had a bit of time to grow up and mature before this kind of stuff. But I'm the 19-year-old that went out and made way too much money at too early of an age doing the thing he would have done for free. That guy still exists in me somewhere, which is not good. He needs to go away. Because I'm older now and I have a family and I have things, and I just need to like that maturity needs to take precedent. But when I'm in a show, man, that it's really difficult to hide him away. So when I take that home with me, it's not always positive for anybody. Like if I call my parents and the entire time I'm talking about what I'm doing and I hang up, that's a failure. That's not a good conversation. My family deserves better than that. So I get it. I mean, the imposter syndrome thing is real and it leads to other things, but I've done a lot of thinking about it.
So for a fun question, because I gave you such a rough one. Okay, if Carrie's thing is making her own, growing her own salads in her dressing room.
Yes.
And Kelvin's thing is playing sax in his dressing room. What is your thing?
My thing, I mean, right away, my thing is cooking. It's not do you mean in my dressing room?
Yes.
Okay,
specifically backstage.
Okay, specifically backstage for me, one of two things. One is I typically run a coffee shop out of my dressing room. I did that in School of Rock and I carried it over to Beetlejuice. It's like anyone on Sunday matinees can come grab a cup of coffee from my dressing room. I had a whole station set up and that became really fun because Sunday is the end of the week and you get a chance to sort of say hello and goodbye to everybody for the day off. And it was nice to just do a thing. People wanted to come get coffee. I was there at 10 in the morning. I'd be there until the matinee. And it was nice. There's number one. Number two, I juggle. It really de-stresses me. I always have juggling balls in my dressing room. I used to have clubs, but there's not enough room.
Damn.
Oh yeah, I can juggle a lot of things. That's like a weird skill that I have.
So would you say that's your weirdest skill on your resume, or is there a weirder one?
Not even close to the weirdest skill on my resume. The weirdest skill on my resume is I can walk a tightrope. I can walk a tightrope. I can walk on a globe. I do a lot of, I learned a lot of circus stuff early on. And I just sort of, I don't know if I could do it right this moment, but I did it on stage at one point. I can walk on a ball. So some of the circus stuff, I can ride a unicycle.
Well, that's cooler than mine. Cause when I was an actor, standing still for like over an hour, I play
like one of those people on the street that like paint themselves gold.
Well, yes, but okay, we were doing a show about the Holocaust, and so we had two Nazis in the show. I was one of the Nazis.
Congrats.
But all we didn't do anything bad. All we did is we told events that happened in the progression of the show,
right?
Which were real life events.
Interesting.
But it still required me standing in attention.
Right.
Or over like during rehearsals, it was like 2 hours.
It's torture.
During the show, it was an hour. And then we didn't have our working mics at the performance hall. So if you can imagine like trying to project in the Winter Garden.
Yes, I can imagine.
With no mic while everyone's eating dinner.
Oh, God. People were eating during this?
Yeah, yeah. So
that's my favorite. That might be my favorite part comedically is that this is like the Nazis telling about the Holocaust. People are like casually hearing about the Holocaust and eating their dinner. I asked for medium rare and this is medium.
Actually, no, we didn't have any meat because it was all kosher.
Ah, I see. That's almost weirdly more disrespectful.
And it was all with Holocaust survivors.
Holy shit. What the hell? Wow. What a very, I mean, this just kept getting weirder and weirder. That is,
Well,
yeah, that is an odd special skill, but the story surrounding the special skill is much more absurd. Let's do this. I'm gonna click on the other link now. So I'm gonna come right back to you. Sound good?
cool. I'll go find my other link and come right back.
I'll be here.